Greetings, and position yourself in the arse groove of your couch and get ready for another rollicking good time here on BTV. Quedia is starting us off with the first in a series on all things joy. Let's find out what makes Australia's first GLBTIQ radio station tick. Take it, Steve.
Good evening, welcome to BTV. My name's Steve Pereira and we're on Quedia, a show that explores all things queer and everything media. It's an electric program with eclectic results, or the other way around. Today we're talking about Joy FM, Melbourne's own queer radio station, which has become a phenomenon of sorts, a media phenomenon. It is one of the largest radio stations in the country. I think it is. I exaggerate perhaps, but it certainly seems that way. And Joy has managed to make the transition from a community radio station to something completely different. Today with us we have Carol Wilkinson, past president of Joy, who's going to talk to us in an ongoing series about Joy, past, present and future. Hi Carol, welcome to BTV and
Thank
Quedia.
you very much. Quedia.
Quedia, wow. Things media. So Joy, you were past president of Joy.
I was, yeah.
Why?
For about 5 years.
For about 5 years. How did you get to that, to become El Presidente?
Short story. It's probably a long story, but short. Really, I was sort of interested in media. I've always sort of enjoyed music, and I'm in the field of audiology in terms of my work, so sound, hearing, stuff like that. I got to Joy by a slightly unusual and very sort of roundabout way. I was actually dancing. I know. Boot scooting to be exact.
Oh, boot scooting. I'm glad you qualified, because I somehow couldn't see you with poles.
Oh, no, actually I do. I have done ballroom dancing as well, funnily enough.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, I was boot scooting, and Joy was very much in its infancy. Now, I did know a couple of people that were involved with Joy as well, but the people that were boot scooting and were very, let's say, were very into Western, country and Western music, felt that it would be really nice if Joy had a program on air that looked after country and Western music. So we sort of all got together and put in an application to Joy to say, how about doing this? And eventually we got a reply back. Well, I say eventually, a few weeks went past and we got a reply back saying, well, tell us what you want to do and we'll think about it. So we did this, and I offered to be the person that would be one of the people that would present a show. I knew nothing about presenting a show. But look, you know, it's community radio, and basically they said, okay, come along and you can have an hour on I think it was a Sunday morning at the time.
But do you know how Joy actually started? Whether it was one person's brainchild that took off?
Yeah, it was basically the main person behind it was a guy called John Oliver. Now, I knew John through another friend of mine who was a friend of his. And he was involved, I think, with Southern FM, which was a community radio station down Moorabbin area. But he believed that there should be a radio station just for the gay and lesbian community. And it was him and a few other people that he knew who were into radio that really started Joy going. I didn't come in until probably, I would say, 9 months or so after Joy had started up.
Now, John Oliver famously, or infamously, launched Joy inadvertently.
He did, yeah.
By going on air and saying, well, let me just get a cup of coffee and then we'll get started, not knowing that he was on air.
Yeah, the on-air button had been pressed and he didn't realise, and he was thinking, right, we'll start in a minute, just get me a cup of coffee first. But that went to air, yeah.
But what a gorgeous way to start a community radio station.
Yeah, it was.
Let's get a cup of coffee and let's go to air.
It is cute.
As part of, were you an active part of the gay and lesbian community at the time?
Not terribly active. I was certainly part of the gay and lesbian community. I was boot scooting regularly with the gay and lesbian group, and I was certainly, I'd been involved with gay and lesbian switchboard.
Yep.
And so I'd have to say, yes, I was involved, but probably not as much as ultimately Joy got me involved.
Do you know what the initial reaction from the community was to this radio station?
Look, I think...
No, we're talking about 1993,
Yes.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Look, I think the reaction was good. It was excellent. But I think to some extent it was probably quite slow. When I say slow, getting the message out there that there was a gay and lesbian community station wasn't always that easy, because bear in mind that at that time it was a temporary license, it was a part-time license, and Joy was only on the air for a certain number of hours per year. Now,
and we also shared the broadband with the Koori radio station and the Muslim radio station.
We had shared it, over a period of time. Joy shared the that particular band with a number of different stations. What Joy did, which I think was really clever, was that they actually said, instead of, because just to step back a bit, a lot of stations with a temporary license would say, right, we'll get all our hours, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in this period of time. And they would be on air for a couple of months, non-stop. Joy said, we don't want to do that, because we don't want to go on air and then just disappear for the rest of the year.
So when you say Joy, was there a committee at that time that was...
The Committee of Management and the programming people decided...
So it was very much part of the community at that time?
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
So basically the committee said, look, there's got to be a better way to do this. A lot of these community stations, they go on air, they stay on air for a couple of months, maybe 3 months, and then they're gone. They're gone for the rest of the year. Now, it's difficult to get listeners when you go and come on and then disappear. It also is difficult to get sponsors.
Absolutely.
When you are on for a little while and then you disappear. So what Joy did, which nobody else had done as far as I know at that time, they said, let's just do weekends, but do virtually every weekend.
Fantastic.
And that meant that there was only about a few weeks per year that they couldn't broadcast because they'd run out of time. But it did keep them on air on a fairly constant basis. And the community got used to knowing that on a weekend we can listen to gay radio.
Fantastic.
So that was great.
And that's Joy the Past, and that's how we started off.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for being with us. Carol's been talking about Joy the Past on Quedia on BTV. We'll be right back on the following episode talking about the present and then the future. Please come back to us. And if you've missed any episodes, get onto our website. Thank you.
We'll be seeing more of the joyful good times next week. Have you sent us some love yet? Drop by our Facebook page, BTV Australia, or email us, as we adore hearing from you. Why not do it during the break? See you soon. The next part of Bent tonight is a double dose of Dig Deeper, and I'm chatting with Lisa from Genderqueer Australia. So get yourselves deeper into that groove and let's find out about all things genderqueer and questioning. On tonight's Dig Deeper, we're going to be talking all things gender and what it means to be genderqueer. And to help us through our journey, I'd like to welcome Lisa Sinclair from Genderqueer Australia. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
As soon as we're born, there begins the is it a boy or a girl questions, and these continue throughout life, and people size us up based on our hair, clothes and makeup. The genderqueer would hope this might change in the future. So the term genderqueer is something that's fairly new to me. What exactly does it mean to identify as genderqueer?
So it's a state where you don't feel you're either strictly male or strictly female. Okay. So genderqueer is to gender what bisexual is to sexuality. It sort of sits between. You don't have to be completely masculine or completely femme.
Okay. So basically you just feel you don't fit nicely into one of the two genders.
Yeah, you're almost identifying just as being a human being, either outside the gender normal behaviours, the stereotypes, or just sort of some days you feel a bit more masculine, some days you feel a bit more feminine. You're allowing yourself the ability to vary.
Okay, so you can sort of like a spectrum, like you were saying, bisexuality is kind of, they talk about the Kinsey spectrum, I guess. Yeah, okay. So what's the difference between gender questioning, gender queer and transgender?
Okay, so gender questioning is you are asking questions about your gender. So you're sort of saying, am I really female? Am I really male? Am I sort of not sure? Genderqueer, as I've just said, sort of not really feeling you're strictly male, strictly female, as I've just explained. Transgender is basically a DSM diagnostic statistical manual diagnosis. It's an actual psychological diagnosis whereby a person who has the physical attributes of one gender, let's say male, so the physical attributes being testicles, if I can say that online.
Yeah, sure, balls,
balls,
anything,
anything, nice, lovely. And the bits between the legs and the physical attributes, sort of broader shoulders, they actually feel themselves to be the opposite gender, so so they feel themselves to be female. But and it's not just from, strictly speaking, from childhood. It can happen at any stage, although you do get a lot of press about young kids wanting to be one gender or the other.
Yeah.
It makes good TV, I suppose.
Yeah. So with that sort of brings something up for me. So with gender queer, is that something that people again feel born kind of in this kind of?
I think it comes from sort of the questioning of the gender and just a need to be yourself. You're sort of not wanting to fit, to be pushed into being, okay, you're female, therefore you must have long hair, wear dresses, high heels, be a girly girl, or the opposite, or the other extreme, be a big bushman, and never cry and go and punch cows.
That's what those men get up
indeed,
to.
Yes,
That's right,
yes,
sure.
That's what real men do, and love their footy and their V-bird.
Oh yeah, there's the Australian male
Indeed,
for sure.
indeed.
So on the Genderqueer website, which is absolutely awesome, you should check it out. You talk of the 3 dimensions of gender. Can you take us through these? Yeah,
that's one way of looking at it. So there's the physical attributes. So the sort of the what's defined as the chromosomal. The XY, the XX, the XXY, if you're on the intersex spectrum, which is another discussion altogether. So there's the physical attributes, there's the identity attributes, whether or not you feel you are one or the other, and there's the way you express yourself, which is the outward appearance. So put these three concepts together, and you have a person who can express themselves in any way they like. But the stereotypes of society, the gender stereotypes, don't really allow for that to happen so much, unless you are female identifying, and then you can wear pants and ties as we do. But if you're a male in society, you go out there and wear a dress and heels, and you start getting cans of beer thrown at you.
It's so funny. Do you think it's like a very Australian kind of issue, do you think? Because we do have that very blokey bloke thing. Okay,
Western and Eastern, it is. Everyone's been brought up with this concept that you're either a male or you're a female, and there's the two bump. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. These are 2 separate planets in 2 different orbits. There's nothing really in between, but gender really is not a stereotype. Well, it can be a stereotype, but gender is more of a spectrum. But you can also have, there's another way of looking at gender in that you can still have a very feminine outlook, but also have a masculine outlook. So separating the lines instead of them being 2 ends of a spectrum.
Yeah, and I guess it just depends on how you feel on the day, right?
Indeed, yes.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so have you any idea how many people identify as genderqueer?
How long's a piece of string?
Yeah, right.
Really, sort of theoretically, thousands.
Wow.
Okay. If you just look at the way women and men express themselves, theoretically, everyone could be genderqueer. If you go down to the brass knuckles of the external expression. There was a survey done, I think it wasn't Transnation, there was one of the surveys done, I can't remember which one, which is bad, that suggested that there was, I think it was something like 3% of the school children surveyed identified as gender questioning, and it was something like 150 out of 1,080, something like that.
Wow.
So it doesn't sound like much, but if you look at sort of the population of the country, it could be quite large.
Yeah, and I think maybe as the idea of genderqueer is more understood, maybe
indeed.
more people are going to, you know, because I didn't think that I was, but looking at the way I'm dressed today, hey, I would say probably I could identify as genderqueer.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea of not
Yeah.
pigeonholing us.
Yeah, just be a human being.
Yeah, right? Yeah,
what we've all got in
and so
common.
what sort of reactions have genderqueer and questioning people been experiencing?
Well, it's anything from, as with everything, anything from complete acceptance, oh well, cool, yeah, whatever, we'll dress how you want, to, as I say, the sort of the throwing of beer cans. It depends on your audience, really. And sort of if you're dressing more genderqueer, then you can't really dress genderqueer. If you express yourself in a more mixed dress sense.
Yeah.
So a person who looks male, wearing glittery makeup and all the rest of it, going to the football, you're probably going to get a bit of ridicule if you do it in a gay club.
Picking your
Maybe
context,
not.
isn't it?
Yeah, pick the context, but we should really. It's a free country within certain boundaries, unless you are an asylum seeker, which is another argument again. And there's no need for it. It seems to come from a lack of education, and that's one of the things we try to do with genderqueer.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll be chatting more about this.
Indeed.
Thanks, Lisa. We'll be chatting more after the break. Thanks, Lisa. And I can't wait to hear more, and we will be back with the conclusion to this after these messages. We're back to finish the show with the final part of Dig Deeper, and I'm chatting with Lisa from Genderqueer. So let's give Lisa the talking stick again. Welcome back to Dig Deeper, and we're chatting with Lisa from Genderqueer Australia. So I've noticed there are a few guys in Brunswick who get about wearing skirts, and I love seeing this, and I hope to see more, but I'm sure they feel a lot of staring eyes on them. Do you think there's going to be a day when this is no longer a big deal?
Yeah. Yes, basically.
Do you think it's coming soon?
Yeah. In a galactic sense, yes. The age of the universe being what it is, it's going to be like that. In a human sense, we've made great progress over the last 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. You were hearing about the first transsexual people in the 1950s.
Yeah, okay.
So in let's say 63 years, we've now got people who are transgendered, transsexual on TV. We've got acceptance of the concepts, at the very least, of gay marriage in Australia. We've got a lot of stuff. Historically speaking, there's never been a better time to be gender variant, for want of a better expression, in the Western world. Yeah. And it will get better, even with the sort of the encroaching conservative governments and things like that. They still can't stop the tide.
I do find it interesting that we can be more accepted in our get up with the tie, etc., than the boys in the skirts.
Indeed, yeah, it's the gender stereotyping again, which is dissimilar to gender identity, which is much more of an internal process of who am I. So the gender stereotypes are still you man, you Tarzan. Go out and kill your food.
Although Tarzan wore a skirt, didn't he?
Indeed, yeah, a little bikini. Little leopard skin bikini. I'm sure the leopard would have liked to keep it on personally. But,
yes, I'm sure.
Yes.
Now, it does seem to be a fairly complex concept, so I wonder if it's difficult for genderqueer peeps to come out, and is it different to a gay, lesbian, bi coming out?
Yes, there's theoretically there's issues with both. And it's all based around the expectations of the person you're talking to. My opinion is that it's gay, lesbian. There's been TV shows and so there's a little bit more understanding. You want to keep your body the same way, but you like the people who look exactly the same as you. Great.
Yeah.
Genderqueer. It's a little bit more complex because there's this understanding, or this thing that we've been taught that you're male and you're female, and the two aren't There's nothing in between.
Yeah.
There's a void in between.
Yeah.
You are either one or the other. It's an either-or concept. Whereas the truth, as evidenced by transgender and genderqueer people, is not so much.
Yeah.
So the coming out process would necessitate some sort of information gathering and sharing with other people, and understanding that people won't necessarily get it first go or have adverse reactions. It's pretty. I would suggest that it's pretty similar to the coming out of a trans person who wants to go from gender A to gender B, or vice versa.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty complex, I guess,
it
issues
is.
for them too as well. Yeah, okay. So, what can peeps do to help genderqueer or gender questioning people?
Well, just accept the person for who they are. Just because it's the same concept as gay, I would suggest, that the person who is standing in front of you is still your friend. They're still the person you've known. They're still the person that you play games with or kick a ball with or go and knit with. It's just that this part of them that you didn't know about before, you now know. Does it change their identity? Not really. But again, it's the reactions. The education needs to be a lot better.
Yeah.
And that will help. That will help everyone ultimately.
Yeah, yeah. So it's so it's much more, like you say, education as opposed to, because people know about being gay and bi, etc. It's much more known.
Yeah.
But people, I think when I was talking to my partner about it, the concept, he just couldn't quite get the concept.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess you're right. It would be more about talking about what it means rather than here I am, genderqueer. Yeah. Okay. So I didn't mean to ask. Do transgender people also call themselves genderqueer, or?
Yeah, it's transgender is the umbrella term that would ordinarily include gender questioning, genderqueer, cross-dressing, transsexual, those sorts of people. So it's on the whole, it's held to be a great big bucket to throw all this stuff into.
Okay.
Some would say genderqueer and trans are outside of that. It's the terminology discussions that always go on in the alphabet soup community.
Yeah, sometimes I think, there's a new one.
Yeah. What, we're having this discussion again?
Yeah.
Let's just go on. Let's just move on.
What else can we come up with?
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Your group, Genderqueer Australia, has regular catch-ups.
Yes.
So where and when are these, and what can we expect at one?
First Saturday of the month, currently being held in Melbourne. The information is on the website, genderqueer.org.au. What you can expect is a bunch of people sitting down having a cuppa. There's no politics, there's no preaching, it's not organised as in sit down, here's the list of things we must do today.
Yeah.
It's just a group of people with a similar life situation who are sitting down, getting to know one another, and so it becomes a peer support group as well as something that's held for genderqueer people. But also we get partners coming along. Partners, family, friends.
Oh, that's good.
We've had professionals coming along, asking questions. We've got genderqueer people, trans people, gay, lesbian. Basically, all humans accepted.
Yeah, cool.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. So, is there any stuff that we haven't covered that we need to talk about in terms of the group? Anything that you guys are up to that we should know about?
At this point, we're keeping it very, very simple. We're just doing the website and the catch-ups once a month.
Yeah, cool.
Future plans may include posters, booklets. We've already got a couple of booklets, but expanding slowly. But we're doing it in a sustainable manner because everyone's entitled to have a life outside of the volunteer work they do.
Yes, excellent point.
So sort of having the experience that I've had. We want to try and make this as sustainable as possible and avoid burnout.
Excellent. Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. It's been
problem.
excellent chatting about genderqueer
Thank
and
you.
Genderqueer Australia. And I'll be back with another Dig Deeper next week. Great to find out more about Genderqueer, and that sadly brings us to the end of the show. But if you're not ready to let go yet, check out our website or subscribe to the BTV YouTube channel to see some old Bent episodes. And we'll see you again real soon.